On the eve of the wedding, my pregnant fiancée ran away with the child. She and her beloved Moonlight continued their past relationship, moving out of our 300 square meter riverside apartment overnight. Moonlight personally came to help her move her luggage, dressed in all white, looking fresh and elegant, telling me not to look down on poor young men. I called off the wedding and made way for them. For years later, she alone stopped my car with her child, asking the child to call me daddy. I almost laughed, thinking I didn't know. Her child wasn't mine at all. Early one morning, a woman holding a child suddenly rushed out under the company building and stopped my car. The driver was quite startled and was about to curse when he froze. At the same time, I also recognized the woman outside the window, who was my ex-fiancée Luna. 4 years ago, I found a pregnancy test in the trash can. There was a very obvious blue cross on it. I thought it was a pleasant surprise, but she asked for a breakup. We had just announced our engagement, and the wedding was already scheduled. I advised her to think about it again, but she cried and told me that her Moonlight from her youth had returned. Tom, David is back, and this time, I can't miss him again. You must understand me, right? Understand my ass. The price of understanding your brave pursuit of love is to endure the ridicule of being cuckolded. I suppressed my anger and bitterness, and asked, then what about me? What do you take me for? She hesitated for a moment, lowered her head, and murmured, Tom, you've been very good to me, but I've always seen you as a brother. Damn it. In one day, I simultaneously received that nice guy card and their big cuckold, 2 major unjust items. But for now, I couldn't break with Lunar's family. After all, both Lunar's family and my family are prominent families, especially Lunar's family, whose newly expanded materials business is booming. So I suppressed my resentment, showing only sorrow and reluctance on my face, and pleaded, Luna, think about it again, just for the sake of the child. Her face suddenly turned pale, staggering back a few steps, and grabbing the table behind her. You know? The next moment, her eyes turned red. Please don't tell my parents. Tom, we're impossible now. I must marry David. Her voice was not loud, but her tone was very firm. Please, don't make me hate you. David was Lunar's senior in college, and also her unforgettable Moonlight. He always wore white cotton shirts, tall and handsome, with a clear and refined face. No one could tell that he came from a poor mountain village. Luna admired him very much. She said David had excellent grades and was admitted through recommendation. Unlike those rich kids at school, she gave him brand name clothes and shoes, but he refused them all. Luna, a person's value doesn't depend on what he wears. There was a faint coldness and arrogance between his eyebrows, firmly grasping Lunar's heart. After graduating from college, David disappeared from everyone's sight. After Luna inquired in many ways, she only heard that he was sent abroad through recommendation. I thought it was just a youthful crush that ended without a sound, but now she's forcing me to divorce. Seeing me silent, Luna became anxious. She grabbed my sleeve and said earnestly, as long as you agree, I can give up everything and promise you anything. I stiffly pulled the corners of my mouth and sneered in my heart. Really? Well then, compared to Luna, who was pampered since childhood, my situation is much more difficult. I am not the only son of my family. I have an older half-brother from another mother. He was born to my father amidst great expectations, while I was just the despised second son from a second marriage. My big brother's mother died early, but she held a special place in my father's heart. He loved him, even though he wasn't that outstanding. Therefore, I need to use all my strength to establish myself in my family, including the power of marriage. The reason why I ended up with the good fortune of marrying into Lunar's family is also because my big brother doesn't like women. This is the biggest secret of my family. That's how I finally got the chance to make demands of Lunar's family. Naturally, Lunar's parents were furious when they found out, and her father smashed his favorite tea set in anger. But Lunar went on a hunger strike, and they couldn't resist her desperate pleas, so they had to reluctantly negotiate with me. Tom, Lunar has gone too far this time, and it's my fault for not teaching her properly. But rest assured, if you don't agree, I'll break her legs before I agree to cancel the engagement. Her father's tone was severe, but I knew he was just putting on a show for me. Her mother loved her daughter the most and gently advised me, Tom, I've always treated you as my own child. But feelings, you can't force them, can you? I stood up. Uncle, Aunt, I know Lunar is serious. I closed my eyes and shed a few tears. I love her, so I'm willing to let her go. Her mother was deeply moved. I've always known that you have a broad mind. Even if you and Lunar can't be together, we will definitely support you. I agreed to the divorce, on the condition that Lunar's family would do everything they could to support me, including involving me in their new business venture. And so, Lunar and David became a romantic story, while I became a joke in the gossip columns. And now, this disheveled, out-of-shape woman in front of me is urgently tapping on the car door, asking her daughter in her arms to call me daddy. After getting out of the car, Lunar eagerly introduced the girl in her arms to me. Her name is Andy. The girl had fair skin, was cute and lovely, but didn't look much like me. Andy, this is your real daddy. Call him daddy, Luna urged eagerly, but the child just glanced at me shyly and turned her head away. Andy, what's wrong with you? Why are you being so useless? Luna frowned. I cleared my throat lightly. Luna, I'm in a hurry. I hurried into the office building, where Luna was stopped by the security guard outside, calling my name incessantly. Pushing open the office door, the large office chair swiveled around, and a short-haired black-haired woman looked at me with a half-smile, half-smirk. Tom, who's that person downstairs? Anna, how did you get into my office again? I threw my bag onto the sofa, pretending to be angry. If you keep doing this, I'll change the password. Hey, my gossip soul is burning. Just explain a little. She walked towards me, pouting pitifully. Someone who has nothing to do with me or you. What's there to explain? Instead of peeking through windows for gossip, you'd better go over the documents again. I knew you would say that. I've read the documents several times already. I almost have them memorized. She observed my expression carefully. Is she Luna? I glanced at her helplessly. Looks like I guessed right. She hesitated for a moment and asked again. Do you still love her? The meeting this afternoon is important. If we secure this big client, our market share will rise to the top. I glanced at Anna and reminded her, don't focus on irrelevant things. I understand. This is our most important battle. How could I drop the ball? She took the documents I had signed and left. Anna's situation was similar to mine. She was the illegitimate daughter of the wealthy her family. She was smart and ambitious, but because her mother couldn't enter the spotlight, she had no place in her family. In order to save face, her father sent her and her young mother abroad and forbade them from returning. Anna's mother longed for home, but until her death, she never returned to her beloved homeland. From her, I saw myself in the past. I brought her back from abroad because on that rainy night, she waited for me in the rain for a long time. She said, I'm Anna, the second daughter of her family from the north of the city. I want to go back. I saw the news and knew you came here to discuss business. I also know that you are the actual power holder of your family now. As long as you promise me, I'm willing to do anything. I remembered there was once a woman who said similar things to me. However, she said them to betray me and pursue another love. But Anna's gaze was firm and powerful. She wanted the same things as I did. At that time, my business was thriving, firmly establishing itself in the field of new materials, gradually catching up with Luna's family. After Luna and David got married, Luna's family wanted David to join their company and support him in climbing the ladder. But David's pride wouldn't allow it. He said, what will people think if I enter your family's company based on this relationship? I'd rather starve than eat off Luna's family's plate. And Luna's pregnancy couldn't be hidden for long. As her belly grew, she became unable to focus on the company's affairs. Her father was displeased and said a few words to David. Luna, in anger, caused a scene and moved out of Luna's family mansion. Although David had studied abroad for several years, the job market in his field was not favorable. While Luna had a large credit card limit provided by her family, David wouldn't let her use it. So their days were tough. At first, Luna could still endure, but later she couldn't bear it anymore, and quarrels became inevitable. How did I know all this? Because there was a time when her father suddenly fainted, and the company lost its backbone. Their company was on the verge of breach of contract with a major project, and I had to step in to help stabilize the situation. Afterward, I went to the hospital to visit her father and also discuss some work matters. Her mother pulled me aside and tearfully vented her frustration. What could I say? Could I blame it all on her? I could only offer a comforting smile and say I trusted Luna's judgment, that David had been outstanding since his university days, and everything would be fine. Her father's face turned livid and he coldly snorted from his sickbed. I've already cancelled her cards. She's as good as disowned. As I was leaving, I crossed paths with David, who had come to visit as well. Outside the ward, he looked arrogantly at me, raising an eyebrow. Didn't expect my father-in-law to fall ill and still have to trouble people from your family to come over. Then, out of nowhere, he added, Luna is doing well with me now, so you don't need to worry. I was about to leave when I heard this and stopped in my tracks. Worry? What do I have to worry about? Whether I can afford the rent every month, or if the gas prices will go up next month. His face turned red, and he blurted out, you're just lucky with your family background, Tom. Don't look down on the poor. I smiled as I looked him up and down. This nearly 30-year-old youth, not understanding where his strong animosity came from, he squirmed under my gaze, retorting, you're rushing to Luna's family for business too, aren't you? In the end, there's not much difference between you and a beggar. Indeed, I was there for business, but it was Luna's family who had sought me out. During the time her father was ill, several key engineers in their company had resigned, and the overall project progress was too slow, facing imminent breach of contract. But I didn't need to explain all this to him. Luna was about to give birth, and I'm sure they were worried about the expenses of raising a child. David's empty-handed visit was surely due to Luna pushing him to the brink. Their good days, I could see, were coming to an end. Anna was well prepared, and the negotiations in the afternoon went smoothly. This deal seemed to be as good as done. I patted her shoulder and invited her to dinner. I could tell she was in a good mood and suggested a toast. After a few drinks, she brought up Luna again. I frowned. Are you interested in her? Why are you so concerned about her? She stared at me. I'm just asking a question. Every time I mention her, you get upset. Do you still love her? Her cheeks turned slightly red, her long eyelashes covering her damp, big eyes, her gaze carrying a stubbornness, a bit of a sulky look. Then I'll answer you for the last time. Listen carefully, and don't ask again. I teased her intentionally, causing her face to pale instantly. Love? No. She was momentarily stunned, then relieved, and laughed. Tom, go to hell. I don't have a hell, only a big aunt. Then go to your big aunt. Go well, go brilliantly, go to hell with my big aunt. Hey, Tom, why are you cursing your grandmother? Because apart from my big aunt, my grandmother wasn't good to me and my mom. If it weren't for my family company relying on my dad, my mom and I would have kicked them both out long ago. Your big aunt is confused too, still wanting to compete with your dad for power. She's not confused. She never competed with my dad back then, and now she's been meddling in my brother's affairs, trying to compete with me. I tilted my head back and drank all the liquor in my glass, which was quite strong and burned my throat. She mimicked me, downing the remaining liquor in her glass. I understand. If it weren't for you talking to my dad back then, promising to give him shares, he wouldn't have cared even if I rotted away abroad. Although you have high demands, a sharp tongue, and always tease me, you're my benefactor. She smiled and pushed the nearly empty glass aside, swaying as she stood up. I knew I had touched on her sore spot, so I got up and supported her. She leaned in close to my ear and whispered, Tom, I like you. I just want to tell you, not all women are like Luna. They say alcohol emboldens the cowardly, and I am cowardly. If you don't like me, just pretend you didn't hear anything, and we'll still be good comrades. As we left the tavern, I saw someone standing across the street who looked like Luna. She looked at Anna leaning on my arm and suddenly became excited. Tom, what are you doing? Who is she? What's your relationship with her? She rushed over and forcefully pulled Anna's hand away from mine. Anna, not steady on her feet, stumbled and fell, her buttocks hitting the curb, causing her to grimace in pain. Luna, what's gotten into you? I was angry. Tom, how could you like someone else? She cried in grievance. You've never been so harsh to me before. I was utterly speechless. The old Luna, though not particularly smart, was not crazy. I helped Anna up, but she couldn't stand steady, yet still stubbornly pushed Luna away. Tom, I'm sorry for hitting you. I'm not sorry for hitting her. What kind of thing are you? You dare to call him Tom? Luna glared at Anna, then slapped her directly. But Luna, who had been pampered since childhood, how could she possibly win against Anna, who had been banished and grown up in the wilderness? Even though Anna was tipsy, she easily pushed Luna down and shouted at me, Tom, don't interfere in women's fights. Whoever takes sides is the loser. Luna roared and tried to grab Anna's hair, but Anna's hair was short and she couldn't get a grip. So Luna struggled and cursed Anna as a shameless homewrecker, seducing someone else's husband, attracting many young onlookers outside the bar, even smashing bottles and whistling. I was completely dumbfounded. What kind of drama was she performing? At that moment, a patrolling police car stopped on the opposite side of the road, and two policemen showed their credentials to us. The three of you, come with us to the station to explain the situation. At the station, Luna continued to angrily accuse Anna of being a home wrecker, until David appeared at the door of the police station holding a child. He calmly explained to the police, this is my wife. She has a bit of a mental illness. He then showed Luna's medical records. Intermittent amnesia. Seeing David and the child in his arms, Luna seemed to calm down, and Anna was now mostly awake from the alcohol. She looked dazed, stood up, and ran outside. Anna hurriedly chased after her. Although this girl was tough, she had a soft heart. When she learned that Luna was ill, she looked guilty. I took the opportunity to ask David, what's wrong with Luna? With her condition like this, I can't believe Luna's family wouldn't take care of her. David's eyes were full of hostility, and he looked at me coldly. Isn't it because of you? After we got married, Luna never forgot about you, but you disappeared after blocking her. You should know, the person who's always by your side can never compete with the one who's in the distance. Moreover, you used her to take away most of Luna's family's business, making Luna's family blame us. Luna and her parents, even the whole Luna's family, have fallen out. How could they possibly care about our life or death? I looked at David's furrowed brow and guessed about 70 or 80% of it. It must be because David was too proud to accept help from his parents, which led to Luna's illness being neglected. I looked at the little girl sleeping soundly on David's shoulder and sighed, wanting to have the driver take them home. David insisted on refusing, leading Luna straight into the night. Luna kept looking back at me, wanting to speak but stopping herself, her eyes filled with despair after realizing the truth. I felt a vague unease in my heart. Sure enough, My intuition was soon proven right. The previously almost finalized deal encountered an issue. The other party claimed there were discrepancies in the data and information we provided. Suspecting certain security risks with our product, they were currently assessing the situation, but it was highly likely they would terminate the partnership with us and turn to another collaborator. When Anna received this news, she broke down. She ran to my office and handed me a resignation letter. I hugged her tightly as she sobbed uncontrollably. Trembling all over, I reassured her that this wasn't solely her responsibility, and if blame had to be assigned, I also bore responsibility. Anna had called me her benefactor before, but in my heart, wasn't she my redemption? The time I spent with her was the lowest point in my life. My longtime girlfriend broke off the engagement, and my family, especially my aunt's faction, saw me as a disgrace to the family. Everyone said I was not only unwelcome at home but had also become a lapdog kicked out by Lunar's family. Even after being dumped, I shamelessly used this incident to my advantage, but no one knew that at that time. The new materials field was a completely new track, and making progress wasn't easy. Many technologies required external learning and collaboration. So, for the past few years, I threw myself into work, traveling intensively, practically living on airplanes. Every time I woke up, I felt disoriented. I didn't know what day it was or where I was at the moment. And then, I met Anna waiting in the pouring rain in a foreign country. She said, as long as I could take her back home, she would agree to anything I asked for. Looking into her eyes, I felt a sense of familiarity. So I asked her, "What can you offer me?" She was silent for a moment, then began unbuttoning her clothes. "As long as you spare my life, I can give you anything else. I want to keep this life and reclaim what's rightfully mine." Her resolute gaze touched me. I held her hand and moved the umbrella over her head, shielding her from the pouring rain. The second daughter of her family. Right, from today on, we are comrades. At that time, I needed to gather all available resources, and her family was an essential collaboration partner. So, I personally went to negotiate, exchanging 20% of the shares for Anna's grandpa's approval. Some might view this as another one of my schemes, but after spending a long time together, I knew how important Anna was to me. She may not have Lunar's gentle beauty or even her status, but so what? When I reached out to her, she reached out to me too. We supported each other, and that was enough. How does that song go? Companion is the most sincere confession. All vows may not hold, but companionship withstands the test of time. I carefully reviewed the previous data and found that the loopholes in those details were indeed difficult to detect. There must have been a mole in the technical department. Just as I was beginning to investigate, my older brother Tim returned from abroad. He was invited by a friend's band to tour various music festivals, but I found out that he was actually called back by my aunt pretending to be ill. My older brother was favored by the elders, even though he had no intention of inheriting the family business, had no interest in women, and would never have a so-called heir. My aunt proposed, why not let Tim adopt his brother's son? They are biological brothers, both of her family's blood. When the time comes, choose the most outstanding child and let Tim adopt him, then arrange a marriage for Tim with a girl, and publicly announce that the child is their legitimate offspring. She thought her plan was clever, but she didn't anticipate that Lunar would suddenly break off the engagement. Nor did she anticipate that I would obtain a ticket to the new materials track because of this and contribute a large part of the group's profits. Seeing my reputation within the company increasing, she feared that my father's thoughts would also change. There must be a mole in the technical department she planted. I remained calm and found an excuse to visit Lunar's father. Since his illness 4 years ago, Lunar's father's health had deteriorated significantly. Although there was competition in business, we could still maintain basic civilities between us. After exchanging pleasantries, I cautiously asked them if they had seen Lunar recently. At the mention of her, Lunar's father started coughing. Lunar's mother hurriedly rubbed his chest to ease his discomfort. After hesitating for a long time, she tearfully said that Lunar hadn't been home for a long time. Not only did she not answer the phone, but she also cancelled her bank cards. Although they were angry, Lunar was still their only daughter. How many parents would hold grudges against their children forever? It's Lunar's misfortune that David happened to return at such a critical moment. We initially thought he was after Lunar's family's money and disagreed, but after several attempts, we found out he really isn't after the money, nor does he covet Lunar's family's assets. It seems he genuinely likes Lunar, but who would have known? Later on, that incident happened. Her mother said, reaching the heart of the matter, couldn't hold back any longer. Covering her face, she burst into tears. As it turned out, after the divorce with me, Lunar's family arranged for a grand wedding for Lunar and David, intending to introduce David to the media and various celebrities, using the opportunity to build his network. But David wasn't appreciative. He questioned Lunar, do you want the whole world to know that David, I'm Lunar's family's son-in-law? Lunar, I'm not like that, Tom. I'm not after wealth, let alone your family's assets. I simply like you as a person. I just want to live our own little life. Where do your parents get off disrespecting my dignity like this? For the sake of David's pride, Lunar forcefully cancelled the wedding, once again provoking her father's fury, and father and daughter erupted in their most serious quarrel. Lunar, crying, stormed out, slamming the door. Who would have thought that Lunar miscarried on their way home because it was in the late months? It had a great impact on her body. Since then, Lunar fell ill. She began to selectively forget many things, but her hatred for her parents grew deeper. The doctors said that this incident had a huge impact on her mental health. Chasing after her too closely was not conducive to her recovery. So, her mother had to secretly wire money to her account. But later, not only was the money returned, the account was also closed. Since then, Lunar cut off all contact with Lunar's family. I left Lunar's family with a stern face. What David said. There were several key points that clearly contradicted what her mother said. Coupled with David's inexplicable and particularly strong hostility towards me, I couldn't help but feel there was a problem behind these things. I began to investigate the reason why David went abroad back then. To my surprise, he wasn't sponsored, but was sponsored by a wealthy person to study abroad, with the target country being Austria. And my brother loves music. I remember he also spent some time in Austria. In the afternoon, when I returned to the company, Anna sent me several clips of my brother's performances. I noticed that, when filming the front row audience, a familiar figure could always be seen. A familiar face, a familiar white shirt, those usually cool eyes, only when looking at someone on stage, would burst into a sun-like fervor. I widened my eyes, watched those clips repeatedly 3 times, couldn't help but ask Anna, "What did you find out? Is that right?" She nodded. "This David knew your brother Tim since college. The money he studied abroad with was also provided by Tim. They seem to be, that kind of relationship." She blushed a bit, scratching her head sheepishly. "Of course, this is just my Fujoshi feeling. Don't mind me." I nodded, then shook my head. I knew her feeling was probably right. Tim not liking women, only a few close relatives knew. Could it be that in recent years, he went abroad under the pretext of music, just to be with David? It seems everything David did was aimed at me. Damn. The hypocritical bastard. I gritted my teeth. Meeting Lunar again was one evening after work. She stood alone at the building entrance, not sure how long she'd been waiting. Her gaze lingered on Anna and me, holding hands for a long time. "Tom, can I talk to you alone for a moment?" Seeing she was behaving relatively normal today, Anna nodded at me and turned to the drink shop across the street to buy drinks. She stared at Anna's back for a long time, then asked me quietly, "Tom, do you like her because she's her family's daughter?" I chuckled. If she could choose her background, she'd rather not be her family's daughter. Not everyone enjoys being the only daughter in the limelight like you. But she's not pretty enough. I think she's beautiful enough. And the person I'm with is me. And the person who likes her is also me. She was stunned. Then tears fell from her eyes. "Tom, I know I was wrong." She grabbed my arm and tried to get into my embrace. "God has already punished me enough. Please forgive me, okay?" I grabbed her shoulder tightly, pushed her away. "Lunar, if you're not doing well now, you can choose to divorce." I opened my business card holder, took out a business card and handed it to her. "This is the lawyer who used to handle legal affairs for our company. Now he runs a law firm. Take this card. He'll give you a discount on consultation fees." Tom, we had feelings for each other. We even had a child. She grabbed my hand, crying bitterly. My breath stopped for 2 or 3 seconds, and I shook off her hand expressionlessly. "Did you care about that child when you insisted on being with David?" Her face turned pale, involuntarily stepped back a few steps. I didn't look at her anymore, turned around and walked towards Anna across the street. The next day, to my surprise, this scene made the headlines of Gossip News. If you ask me, I wouldn't believe it wasn't orchestrated by certain individuals. #Tom unforgettable old love. Encouraging Lunar's divorce. # greedy snake swallows elephant. Tom playing both sides. # Tom meddling in others' marriage. Anna urgently contacted the public relations department, wanting to remove these hot topics, but I casually told her not to worry. Let it be. The bigger the fuss, the better. I'll add fuel to the fire at the right time. Apparently seeing that I was lying low, David held a high-profile press conference. On the surface, he angrily denounced the media for exposing his family's privacy, worsening his wife's illness, but took the opportunity to throw all kinds of dirt at me. In his mouth, I was just a scumbag who cared only about profit. He claimed that I took advantage of Lunar's tearful divorce, snatched a large amount of benefits from Lunar's family, and under Lunar's family's support, ousted my family's eldest son to become the heir of the G Group. Later, even after returning to the country, I continued to maliciously destroy his relationship with Lunar and even caused a scene at the police station. For a moment, various public opinion news flooded in like a tide, and my limelight even overshadowed the gossip of A-list celebrities. The stock price of my group was also greatly affected, and my aunt triumphantly approached my father, asking him to let my brother take the position of heir. or else she would mobilize the shareholders to make trouble. My father also looked at me angrily. I smiled indifferently. Aunt, you always love my brother so much, but it seems that my brother's mind is not on running the company. You don't need to worry about these things. Tim is the eldest son of our family, and our family's company should naturally be inherited by him. She replied with a stern face. You're making such a big mess this time has had a terrible impact on the company, and we elders will not sit idly by. As if no one knew. She was so supportive of Tim because his mother died early and she could easily control him. She had been betting on Tim from an early age, using him to pave the way for her own biological son. All right, since you care so much about this issue, I'll give the group to my brother. I shrugged helplessly. Then I announced, by the way, I have already set up a new company. After stepping down, I will transfer the business related to new materials to the new company. My father's face changed instantly, and my aunt hadn't reacted yet. She probably hadn't looked at the company's financial reports for a long time and hadn't figured out which business sectors had been supporting the group's soaring profit margin in recent years. Tom, other shareholders won't agree. My father stared at me, his anger dissipating by more than half. I will take my business and team with me when I leave. Of course, I won't take those insiders who betrayed our company. I'll leave them for you to continue to play internal struggles. A stupid talent who kills 1,000 enemies and harms himself by 8,000. I don't fancy it. With that, my father's eyes and eyebrows stood up. He didn't say anything directly, but his eyes kept drifting towards my aunt. I took out a USB flash drive and put it on his desk. Take a look. While we're busy tripping over ourselves, Lunar's family has already started grabbing deals. Do you believe no one was in cahoots with them? Losing such a big deal was not a trivial matter. As soon as I finished speaking, my father's temples bulged with blue veins. In the end, amid the shareholders' questioning, this matter soon became a hot topic on the financial section, complementing the hot topic on the entertainment section. Tom Young Master unintentional in company role # Tom Group Chairman confirms successor #. Currently, I'm simultaneously dominating the entertainment and financial sections, and my popularity is unmatched. That's exactly the effect I wanted. I put down my phone and smiled. At this point, there's only one final step left to wrap up everything. Through some insider information, I learned that David was going to divorce Lunar. Lunar fell ill under stimulation and almost jumped off a building with the child in her arms, but was saved by the person I sent to watch over her. David's actions were within my expectations. Just as the headline #Tom Young Master unintentional in company role appeared, I sent someone to secretly follow him. I took this opportunity to hold a press conference to promote our company's latest developed new material product. But the well-intentioned reporters wouldn't just ask about the new product. As expected, soon some reporters began to inquire about the scandal between me and Lunar. Sir, according to rumors, Lunar is divorcing her husband. Is this related to you? Have you interfered in their marriage? Lana posters are surprised, just about to ask questions, when they hear someone cry out my name from the audience. Tom, it was Lunar, who came to attend the press conference. I furrowed my brows slightly. Lunar, your health is important. This isn't the place for you to be. Her eyes were slightly red, and she choked. I just wanted to see you. The reporters couldn't let such a good opportunity slip by, their flashes popping one after another, almost blinding. It seems like Lunar is the one chasing after Tom. More people started to discuss. A reporter handed the microphone to Lunar. Miss Tang, it's rumored that you and Mr. G are not finished, and you want to divorce him because of Mr. Tom. I interrupted the reporter without hesitation. This is a press conference for the G Group. Lunar is not available for interviews. It's okay. There's nothing we can't talk about. Lunar wiped away her tears and raised her head. That's right. I'm getting a divorce, and I also hope it's because of Tom. But the fact is, because of Tim, Tom's older brother. The reporters were all puzzled, doubting if they had misheard. Lunar's tears rolled down like broken beads. My husband David, he's Tim's lover. He always has been, since college. Except for me, everyone in the room had mouths wide open, big enough to fit a fist. So David has always been cold to the opposite sex, and he never accepts any confessions from girls, because he's simply not straight. After graduating, he quietly went abroad. With his family background, he couldn't afford the tuition. So many people thought he was going on a scholarship, including me, but it was actually Tim who provided the funds. They lived together while abroad, and it was Tim, not Tom, who interfered in my marriage. The room exploded. Currently, all the hot searches are related to me. #group new product launch #, Tom engaged #, Lunar divorce #, Tim third will #, Lunar exposes David isn't straight #. Knowing Luna as I do, she would definitely come to the press conference I called. My dry explanation couldn't compare to Lunar's tearful accusation, so I left the second half of the conference for her to expose the scumbag. It turns out, after that big fight with her father, Lunar came home and caught David and Tim together. Because of her overly emotional state, she fell down the stairs and lost the baby. Later, David used all sorts of sweet words to coax her, saying it was all a misunderstanding, that he only loved her and wanted to be with her forever. So not long after, in the throes of love, Lunar got pregnant again. But after she gave birth, she found out that David and Tim were still involved, which made her even sicker, suffering from intermittent amnesia. The one who schemed with my aunt behind my back was also David. David wasn't after money, because his ambitions went beyond that. The reason he destroyed the marriage alliance between me and Lunar's family, the reason he colluded with my aunt, was all to ruin me, to pave the way for my older brother. So, he returned to China on the eve of our wedding, coaxing Lunar to give up our years of relationship. Lunar, full of joy, thought the prince had finally returned, only to fall into the trap he carefully crafted. As for my older brother, he never intended to inherit the family business. David, however, firmly believed he was the most suitable candidate to inherit the G group, perhaps because in his heart, no one could compare to my older brother. Although he was cold and indifferent, he was sincere to my older brother, which is why he always hated me. Meanwhile, Lunar's accusations completely ruined my older brother, who decided to settle abroad and never return. Of course, before leaving, he officially broke up with David. Someone uploaded a video of them at the airport, where David knelt on the ground, clinging to Tim's legs and sobbing loudly, while Tim looked annoyed. I told you a long time ago, just pretend to be nice to Lunar. But you had to take matters into your own hands and cause all this trouble. David, are you fucking crazy? He kicked David away and ran off. David was deeply affected, attempted suicide, and was sent to the hospital. It said he also had some mental issues. I became the undisputed heir of the group. On the day of my engagement to Anna, her family's old man and his family came early to attend, with a complete change of attitude towards her. Not only did he apologize for his previous actions, he also publicly promised that half of her family's assets would be hers. After all, I had already made the group the leader in the field of new materials, and the subsidiaries had successfully gone public. Anna and I had been fighting side by side for so long, and we had a considerable amount of resources and connections. During the reception, her old man was smiling apologetically, willingly being her human background board, introducing everyone to his proud second daughter. I held her hand tightly, her smile falling into my eyes. She whispered in my ear, "They say belated affection is worse than a dog's, but watching them act like fools, I feel so satisfied in my heart." We smiled at each other, and I gently kissed her forehead. Under the flashing lights, the diamond ring on Anna's ring finger sparkled like a star in the sky, so dazzling,